All right, so let's see what this is. I haven't read this yet. So this is data analysis on 8 million replays. Okay, I recently delved into a database containing around 8 million replays. A huge thanks to Dakota_Fanning for granting me access to the data from Rep Mastered app. Okay. We're aware of the slight imbalances in various matchups. He's talking about TVP. For instance, there's a 53% win rate for Terran and TVZ with similar minor imbalances in other matchups. While these numbers can vary based on factors like maps, spawn locations, player skill, and the current meta, they are generally recognized and accepted by the community. I don't accept them. With the data at hand, I tried to examine how some of these factors might influence the result of a game. Specifically, I examined how win rates in non-mirror matchups change as the game progresses over time. This is pretty interesting already. I actually have some big theories about this. I'll let you know before we look at the numbers. In essence, we will be looking at the win rate segmented into 1-minute intervals. For example, the 7-8 minute interval, we only consider games that concluded between 7 minutes and 8 minutes in game time. This gives us an idea of the likelihood of a particular race winning at that specified time in the game. By doing this for every 1-minute interval, we can observe the win rate over time. The analysis is divided into 3 main parts: the evolution of win rates in the 3 matchups, the impact of spawn positions, close versus cross, and influence of player skill. Before diving in, let's understand the data used. You can skip this if you're only interested in the results. Okay. As mentioned earlier, the y-axis displays the win rate. Okay, y-axis is win rate. Colored and linked data points label on the plot's left side against game time on the x-axis. A dashed green line represents a 50% win rate, showing the shift. The gray background data with axis labels on the right show how many games conclude in each interval. This helps gauge the frequency of games ending at specific times and how often they progress to certain stages. Okay, this is interesting for a lot of reasons. Okay, first off, the replay doesn't actually tell you who won, which is kind of interesting. So this guy had to figure some way for it to automatically tell him who won, because there's no information in the replay data of the win. It's like, I think the best thing you might be able to do is maybe who leaves or something like that. Right? Yeah, that must be it. It must be who leaves. But I remember talking to the guy that made SCR chart and him saying that there's no actual data in there on that. But that's a very small point. So I'm just saying I wonder if there could be any flaws in the data there. But as far as time that you win, this is actually something I was thinking about a lot a few years ago, because I noticed the trends as I got better and better about when you win and when you don't. Okay, so I'm going to make a few guesses here, okay? So, Terran versus Zerg, I'm going to say that after 23 minutes, the win rate of Terran goes through the roof. I think Terran versus Protoss, you're going to have a mid-game win rate where it is 16 minutes to like 22 minutes is going to be heavy Terran wins, and then everything else will be lower Terran wins. Like higher Protoss wins. Okay. Well, here, let's just go through them one at a time. Okay, so I said Terran versus Zerg first. So I'm saying my big thing for this is, again, the after 23 minutes, it's going to be huge Terran win rate. Okay, so T win rate. So here's 23 minutes. Wait a minute. 23 minutes. And then is that below 50% there then? So it's showing Terran win rates are, so this is around 8 to 9 minutes. It starts to go up. And also here, which is like 5 to 6 minutes. So this is probably 2 Racks Academy right here. Right there. Like that's kind of the timing window for that. So I'm guessing that would have something to do with that. This is interesting, though, because this is like, I guess this is until defilers are really out or something, but I'm very surprised. I would like to see this data for higher level players, because honestly, I think like as you approach the pro level, after 23 minutes, Terran is imbalanced against Zerg because they run out of their first 2 geysers. And that's like how you see so many victories from Terran. But here it shows the opposite. It's actually Zerg favored, I guess. So that's interesting. That's not what I expected to see there at all. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like 8 million replays, and it's like includes really weak players. I would love to see this data redone for, let's say, A rank and above, right? Where people actually have a good idea of the actual flow of the game. Okay, but that's interesting. Let's look at what he says about that. Let's look at this chronologically. Early few minutes are dominated by wins due to Zerglings. That makes sense, right? Look, 4 pools, 9 pools. Look at that. It's like all Terran almost never wins down there. 5 to 7 minutes, mostly sunken bus. Yeah, well, like I said, that's probably the Turax Academy for the most part. That's the hitting window of that. Zerg has a strong timing around 7 minutes when their layer kicks in. Okay, so that's like the Muta. That's the Muta hit. If Terran doesn't lose to Zerg layer tech, they have a great time until 12 to 13 minutes when they get to Filers. Makes sense. If Zergs can stabilize, they slowly switch the matchup. The matchup becomes balanced again, it's saying, at 20 minutes. And this is the funny thing. I think it's actually like, okay, I guess Terran has survived that long, so it becomes closer. But honestly, I think around 23 minutes, it should go Terran favored if we have higher level players. But interesting data there. Okay. PVZ. I think this is going to be a mid-game thing where mid-game Protoss is winning, right? So I think it's going to basically be like after, like I would say around 12 minutes, it'll become plus Protoss, and it'll be a window of like 8 minutes. That's my guess. Okay, let's see. So it becomes plus Protoss at 9, a little after 9 minutes, and it is definitely a mid-game thing. So Protoss has win rates up to 18.5 minutes. That sounds about right. That sounds about right to me. Like, I think that basically this is like Zergling rushes. This is Hydra bus. Like, that's literally exactly when 3-hatch Hydra hits right there. And then, like, as Protoss gets Psy Storm finished, like, they start to go up, right? And then they fall down, I think, as you hit Hive Tech as Zerg. Or actually, this is, you know what this is probably correlated with more than Hive Tech? I bet you this is when they run out of minerals on 2 base. I bet you that. I bet you that's what that is. Oh, these are fascinating graphs. Because a lot of games from Protoss do end up, it's like, well, you've been trying to bust out a Hydra Lurker for 20 minutes and you're done, you know? Okay. This particular plot initially sparked my interest. Zerg dominates the early games. 7-8 minutes. Yeah, that's the Hydra bus builds. Protoss takes the lead in the mid game. Peak around 13 to 16 minutes. That sounds about right. Yeah, games that didn't end earlier are likely ones where Protoss successfully fended off the bust, often securing a favorable position. Yeah. 16 to 20 minutes. Protoss win rate drops with Zerg taking the upper hand. Protoss typically mining out their main and natural bases around 16 minutes. Yeah. So that makes perfect sense to me. That's actually where you see Protoss's their winning records go way down in that area because they run out of all of their minerals. Yeah, that's really fascinating as well. Wow. Okay, so now PVT. PVT is very certainly like that. I think it's going to be like that, but maybe a little bit closer in endgame. Because Terran is kind of a timing attack race. It's like the late mid-game is where they get strong. So I would say the Terran win rate will go up after 12 minutes. And it'll be really good up to about 22 minutes. That's my guess. Protoss win rate. Okay, so Protoss win rate shifts to Terran around 9 minutes. It gets even. And then look at this. Okay, so 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes. Dude, that's the worst win rate of all the matchups, isn't it? Look at that. That's a very short window. And it goes back to Protoss favored at 21 minutes. So I was actually pretty close there. Right around 21 minutes is where it becomes Protoss favored again. And look at this. This is actually something that I've known for a long time now. It's funny because people are like, oh, late game Terran's so good. No. Late game Terran was good 20 years ago. Nowadays, late game is really hard for Terran. Terran's really a mid-game timing attack race, and you can definitely see that reflected here. That's kind of fascinating. That's some scary Protoss win rates. Look at this. If the game ends around 4 minutes, Protoss wins like 70% almost. Crazy. Breaking down chronologically, early game phases are Protoss favored. Number of games conclude to Protoss timings. Strong timing around 10 to 12 minutes. Yep. A small bump in Protoss win rate in around 14 minutes is not completely clear to me. It seems to wane a few minutes later, but it represents games where Protoss successfully defends against Terrans. 10 to 12 minute push. So I would say it's actually very likely what that peak is for Protoss there. Protoss, it used to be, and maybe it is at lower levels still, but like timing attacks at about 12 minutes. Because normally, like with the easiest builds, like Arbiter builds, for instance, an Arbiter build will max out and have Arbiter ready with spells on 4 bases at like 12 minutes, and you attack. And until you're like well into A rank, that'll kill you all the time. After 12 minutes, Terran's win rate starts to decline with games lasting over 20 minutes favoring Protoss. What did I say? 21 minutes or something? Damn, I'm good. PVT is a matchup where I have the least knowledge overall, so maybe someone else will have better insights on this. But anyways, yeah, that's some really... So he hasn't put everything in there, the influence of spawns. I would love to see this redone with A rank and above replays, because I think it would mirror what I was saying a little bit stronger. But yeah, it's truly fascinating. I love seeing something like this, because this is like, like if we had the scene as like inundated with money as something like League of Legends or Counter-Strike, I think that we'd already have a lot more analysis that looks like this, because shit like this is actually very useful. Again, this has like a lot of noobs and noob replays, because most of the games played are played by noobs that are mixed in here, but I think you still see the kind of trend. But you can see where it's like, yeah, you have this window that you're supposed to win in, right? In certain matchups, because it becomes very hard in other areas.
ST4 and Kai Hanglo cheer.
What's up, Stanky?
X300. Artie, I really appreciate what you're doing, but I did not being my spiral bound notebook, protractor, T81 calculator, or most importantly my 5-star trapper keeper. I'm having trouble keeping up. Can you explain what exactly a graph is so that I might understand the contextual core material before we move on to the more hardcore next-gen new meta maths?
Thank you, Stanky. Yeah, so let me explain to you what a graph is. Anyways, this is a very, very cool post. So big shout out here to Crakeling for putting this together. I think that this is really awesome. Cool to see.